There is nothing wrong with Tanzania having relations with SADC, but there is everything wrong with Tanzania behaving as if it is not part of Eastern Africa. That was what was wrong. And Suluhu would try, she's trying very hard to rectify that impression, that she is not interested in Eastern Africa or in Kenya. And so she has to deal with her domestic issues. And you notice that one of the things she did immediately, before it was adjusted, was to say, fungulia media. So,
yeah.
you know, that was a message freedom to the domestic audience. The old ways of clamping down will not be tolerated.
So was it as a way of, you know, Her Excellency's President Samia Suluhu trying, because you've seen her do so many changes, you know, just apart from what you've mentioned, media freedom, you've seen her reshuffle the cabinet. Is it her showing indirectly that she was a bit uncomfortable with how her predecessor ruled the country?
Well, as a vice president, she was very careful not to show that she was ambitious. And maybe she did not even expect to be president, of course. The role of the vice president will be supportive of whatever the president wants. And she played that role very carefully. But once she was thrust in the position of president, and it's not unique to her, it's common everywhere, the incoming president, who happened to have been a vice president, does change some things. Has to have her own people, the people she feels comfortable with. So the mini reshuffle, because it was not a major reshuffle, it was a mini reshuffle. But
by that mini reshuffle, Prof, you may agree with me, it saw some of the faithful leaders within Tanzania, within that cabinet, diehard of the late John Pombe Magufuli being removed from leadership, and you know, others being taken to head other departments within the government. No,
that is quite in order. That's why she has to put, that's also a way of putting her stamp.
All right.
That and because she worked with these people, she knew who they are. And maybe the chemistry between her and some of these people was not very good. So she has to get, there's nothing wrong with what she did.
All right.
She has to get a team that would help her to move forward.
All right.
And getting the Mula to be Minister of Foreign Affairs was a great thing, because that lady is also highly qualified and knows how to move around.
All right, and so that is one of the ladies that we are seeing accompany.
She's the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So
exactly.
She has to be there to meet her counterpart, Rachel Omamo, and they can talk. But so the mini reshuffle was not a surprise at all. It was expected, and she also talked at the beginning, you mentioned about her statement to assure people who may have maybe in doubt that she is president of Tanzania, who happens to be a woman.
All right.
So that had to be very clear to everybody.
All right, let me just remind our viewers for watching KTN News Center this morning as to why we have those live pictures for you from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, courtesy of my colleagues who are there to ensure that we give you the live coverage. The plane that you're seeing there, it is Air Tanzania carrying the President of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu Hassan, who's actually arrived in the country for a 2-day state visit, and definitely she will be received by delegates here in Kenya. Definitely we expect Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo and also the PS for Foreign Affairs, that is Macharia Kamau, just to try and give her a warm welcome. Even as she will be heading to State House right now from here, where she will be received by President Uhuru Kenyatta. And of course, the state visit to Kenya was based on an invitation of President Kenyatta as the two countries, that is Kenya and Tanzania, seek to amend and restore bilateral ties damaged under the leadership, the presidency rather, of John Pombe Magufuli. And of course, she visits Kenya as the Tanzanian president after she took office in March following the death of President Magufuli, and will be hosted, as I've told you earlier on, she will be hosted by President Uhuru Kenyatta State House for bilateral talks. This is according to a dispatch that was sent from State House, Nairobi. And anytime from now, you'll be seeing Her Excellency, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan, walk down those steps, as her first visit to Kenya as the President of Tanzania. This is the second visit that she's making within the East African community. 2 weeks ago, she was in Uganda, and where we saw her sign a trade deal with Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. So this is the second visit that she's making within the EAC as the first female president of Tanzania, the first female president within the East Africa community. And of course, she's also been given that chance of addressing members of parliament. When I'm talking about members of parliament, I'm talking about both the Senate and the National Assemblies. This is a chance, a rare chance that is given to any head of state. Remember, the first Tanzanian president to address the Kenyan parliament was the former President Jakaya Kikwete back in 2015. And so during our 2-day state visit, one of the agenda, apart from just signing those bilateral trade deals and just trying to restore that frosty relationship that Kenya's had with Tanzania, she's also expected to address members of parliament. And Prof, we saw, during this time of COVID-19, Tanzania and Kenya have had such a bad relationship in terms of how Tanzania was not coming clean when it comes to its status of COVID-19 infections and deaths. We saw truck drivers from Kenya being mistreated. At that time, we even saw, flights from Kenya being banned from getting into Tanzania. Are we likely also to see these two leaders talk about this and how they will address this going forward?
Yes, we expect them to address that because it's a major concern. And what they say would be part of the easing of tensions. I would expect that they will discuss opening up the borders more than they have been. And the COVID issue will be part of that discussion. That how do they deal with the disease? Because it is a disease. And from her statements, she has already said it very clearly that Tanzanians cannot bury their heads in the sand. That it is. But at the same time, they need to balance. And this is the message across everywhere in the world, the balancing of how you deal with the disease and the other aspects of the national being. Sometimes some countries are going overboard one way or the other. And the repercussions are the destruction of the economies and the destruction of the well-being. So people complain of dying now of hunger or some other things instead of the disease. So they will discuss, or they should discuss, how to deal with this as a regional problem. The East African behavior are one. So you should also have that behavior as one, even in dealing with.
All right, and Prof, during presidency of John Pombe Magufuli, for him it was about nationalism. He had that nationalism tone that showed that Tanzanians come, they come fast. And that's why during that time of COVID-19, he said, hata ikiwezekana wauzie vitu kwa bei ghali, referring to Kenya.
Yes.
And this frosty relationship that Her Excellency Samia Suluhu is here to address today will also trickle down, to the common mwananchi, the relationship between Kenyans and Tanzanians, especially at the border.
Well, you see, John Pombe Magufuli, alikuwa mchokozi, so when he stands up and says, wauzia gali, but she does not want to take that kind of approach. Because the first should acknowledge that there is a serious disease in Tanzania. Not John Pombe denied. I expect that they'll talk about these things amicably. And the threat to punish each other economically.
Right. So, Prof, I can see the door has finally been opened for Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan, the first president of the Republic of Tanzania, the first female president within the ESC. That is just some of the top leadership of Tanzania, the president, including members of the press. I mean, the presidential press from Tanzania. We know that also the Foreign Affairs Minister of Tanzania has also accompanied President Suluhu to this visit. And of course, we expect a lot from the two leaders, you know, that is from President Uhuru Kenyatta and President Samia Suluhu during her official visit to Kenya since she took office. And of course, it comes at a time when Kenya and Tanzania have in the last 4 years you know, had losings for items such as sugar, milk, and dairy products. And the latest people to feel the effect of the first relationship between Tanzania and Uganda are traders who are saying they cannot access, you know, tomatoes from Tanzania. Hence, the price of tomatoes within the country went very high. What even Professor Macharia Muneno was talking to us about, that apart from just sorting out the first relationship, the leadership relationship that Kenya and Tanzania have had, we are also going to see the two leaders talk about, you know, nationalism that shows the strength, you know, the relationship between Tanzanians and, you know, Kenyans within the border. Tanzanians were in Kenya here doing business, Kenyans were in Tanzania doing business. And of course, the first relationship has affected bilateral trades between the two nations, and that's why for the last 5 years, during the presidency of John Pombe Magufuli, we saw several business deals and, you know, business trades actually go to Uganda, prompting a series of meetings, which including a summit in Arusha from November 12, 2016, last year, to try the frosty ties. And today, the two leaders sit down to talk and try to address this relationship, the frosty relationship that in having. There you have it. The first 50 who took over the leadership mantle Tanzania following the death of President Pombe Magufuli, walking down the steps of the flight of Air Tanzania. Her first maiden trip to Kenya to try and bring more trade deals to this, you know, taxes and market access right for items such as sugar, milk, and dairy products, including, you know, that openness in terms of trying to sort out the issue of COVID-19. We saw truck drivers from Kenya having a difficult time accessing Tanzania, and so that is why she's here today. Members of the press just trying to get of getting a glimpse of photo recordings of the female president of Tanzania. And of course, she's been welcomed by Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo, and straight away from here, they'll be heading to State House, Nairobi, where she is being waited for by the President of the Republic of Kenya, President, who's also the chair of the ESC. And definitely for the next days that she'll be here in the country, she's expected, apart from just signing those bilateral trades and trying to sort out the relationship that we've been having with Tanzania for the last 5 years, she's expected to address members of the rest. And you know, Prof, when I saw her walking down those steps, she was taking that bold step of, I have actually arrived in Kenya to bring a solution.
Yes, it was confident walk down the stairs of the huge aeroplane that she knows. So even the way she walks, who surrounds her, is also a message. You do not somebody who is docile, who does not seem to be sure. This is somebody who is sure and wants to find solutions, whatever may be ailing relationship between Kenya